We got a special one for you this week. We've got myself, Domenick Muoio, sitting down with Glen Scarborough, the HRC president, and we get to talk just dogs and about HRC as a whole. So I hope you guys enjoy it.
You're listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast, celebrating hunting dog heritage, competition, and community. United Kennel Club has been the hunting dog sports home for coonhounds, beagles, retrievers, pointers, cur, feist, and more for over 125 years.
Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm Domenick Muoio, and I'm joined today with Glen Scarborough. He is the president of the Hunting Retriever Club. And today we're just going to get to know him a little bit more and get to understand the organization as a whole of HRC. And we really hope you guys enjoy this one. With that being said, Glen, would you mind introducing yourself and kind of talking about your how you got into HRC as a whole?
Sure. So, actually, today is the anniversary, 24th anniversary of me getting shot duck hunting. So, I was hunting with a friend, got shot, had a chocolate lab that I had kind of half-heartedly trained. He was one of those types, if you reach over the boat to get a decoy, he wants to run up and lick you in the face. He weighed 85 pounds. So at the wrong time, him running up on you when you're leaning over, you could fall out of the boat. I had multiple friends that complained over time, about him not being very well mannered. It was all my fault, but he wasn't the greatest of dogs. So once I got recovered from my accident and getting shot, got another dog roughly 4 or 5 years later. And decided right then that if I was going to have another dog, that I was going to get it trained to where it wasn't a nuisance at the very least, and then at the very best would go get our birds. And immediately knew that I couldn't do that because I'd already tried, and called my local HRC club, found them, got the president's number, called him, said, "Hey man, I need some help." And roughly 20 years later, I'm sitting here with you. Obviously, since then, I've had 4 or 5 hunting retriever champions. I had 1 grand champion. And I've just yesterday picked up another black female that's 9 weeks old. So we'll start over with her real soon. So.
Oh man, there's nothing I enjoy more than working with puppies.
Yeah, well, that 5 or 6 wake up calls last night wasn't the most fun, but couple of 3-4 days when that'll get better. So anyway, but yeah, so we're
Maybe
good.
I should phrase that better. When I think about it, I love working with puppies.
Yeah, you forget about those early weeks, but after that, but no, those 3, 4, 5, 6 month old, man, that's the fun because it's seeing that light come on in their head and realize what you're trying to teach them, and man, that's fun.
Yeah. It's a pretty good time for you to have a puppy too, because that means by next year they get to go on their first couple of hunts. They'll be about a year old. They'll be through some of the basics, and they'll be about ready for some
Right.
hunts.
Right. Yeah. And the only problem, down here is, of course, it's not a great big problem, but right now the water's too cold to get her in. So, we'll probably have to wait 2 months, or maybe a little more before introducing her into some swimming water. But that's okay too, no rush, plenty of time for all that.
Yeah. I had a litter of puppies a few years ago, and I like the timeline of having them. I whelped them in like April, and so by the time they were old enough, the water was nice and warm to swim in. But by the time duck season rolled around, they're in that awkward area where they're really too young to actually go on a duck hunt, so they have to pass that whole
Yeah.
season, and then you go around to the next season, and then they're pushing a year and a half, 2 years old. So I think it's one of those things you're kind of caught between a rock and a hard place as to when you have that puppy. If you have a fall puppy, it's hard to get them in the water, and spring puppies are, chance of missing that season. So.
Yeah. I agree 100%. And I've had them both ways. Seems like I tend to get them in the fall. Most of May, October, December puppies, So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to get back out and going through all the stages again.
That puppy have a name?
His mother, her mother's name is Storm. Her
Mm.
dad's call name is Ice. Um, um, and when I was in the hospital recovering from my accident, the ice storm hit Texarkana.
Mm.
Uh, so I woke up from a coma, and the day the ice storm hit. So right now, ice storm and coma, probably ice storm in the legal name, coma maybe the call name.
Mm.
But it's, had her less than 24 hours, so I kind of like to let the dog lead you a little, but that's kind of the ice storm part for sure. We're going to get that involved. Um, but call name coma, maybe. We'll see.
I like it. I like it. Well, tell me a little bit about your not that chocolate dog, but your first trained dog, the first dog that you ran in HRC.
Right. So that dog there's a little story behind that. There was being an amputee, there's not a whole lot in my area. And there was a young kid in his early 20s that I had coached for about 6 years in baseball before I lost my leg and when he was younger, obviously. And I lost track with him. I coached him till he was about 14, lost track with him for probably 10 years. And then he shows back up when his mother got in touch with me and said, "Hey, Glenn, I know you're an amputee now. Chris has got cancer in his shin. It's come back, and there's nothing they're going to be able to do to stop it this time in his shin. He wants to amputate his leg above the knee, and I wanted you to talk to him." So I was talking to him. Long story short, that kid was from Central Louisiana. He grew up around HRC. He grew up around hunting dogs, big down there. Mr. Bill Autry is
Mm.
right there. He threw birds for Mr. Bill in the summertime. So um, all those guys down there loved him, and he knew that game well. So as I got to know him again, and when he did amputate his leg above the knee, and he wound up getting a puppy, and he had that puppy female for about 3 months, and he passed away. The cancer had spread into the rest of his body, and he was about 24, 25,
Mm.
and he passed away. And he had been on a mission to get me to get another dog. Because of not wanting one because of my first one. And his mom said, "Hey, Glenn, Chris has been trying to get you a dog, so you got one now." So I obtained his dog, 4-month-old female, and brought her in, and that was when I got a hold of Derek Watson, which was the 4-State Retriever Club president, and told him I needed help, and he helped me. So that was kind of the deal. So I took his dog, and he'd already named it, and it was Izzy. And Izzy, and one of the last things when I talked to Chris, maybe 2 nights before he passed, he said, "I've never had a hunt retriever champion. I want a hunt retriever champion. I've had, several started title dogs and several HRs, but no HRCHs. And I want to get that." And had no clue to what HRCH meant. He had told me, he had tried to get me to get him more involved. I just wasn't wanting to do it. And anyway, so I told Derek, I said, "Hey, I need to get this dog trained, and I need to get a hunt retriever champion title." And he started laughing. He said, "Okay, I'm sure not thinking that we can make it, but anyway, got her about 3 years old. She got her hunt retriever champion title, and she was the best house dog that we ever had. She didn't care for the cold water and hunting a whole bunch, but when I carried her, she went and she did her job. She would retrieve bumpers from daylight till dark, but retrieving in cold water was not her thing. But great dog. Just wasn't quite what I needed to get to the grand level. So I waited till she was about 4 or 5 years old and obtained what I thought would be a grand champion level pedigree dog, and was able to get a grand title on that dog, passed 3 times in the grand, and probably would have chased the 4th had we had the Hall of Fame back then, but we didn't. So retired him early so he could kind of just hunt and lay back and not wear him out. And anyway, so that's kind of my early going. Since then, I've had several dogs. One dog that wasn't really into the game that I like, the hunt retriever game. Great pedigree. He just didn't like what I was wanting him to do, and donated him to Retrieving Freedom Incorporated. He went on to be a girl with autism that was 8 years old. He went to her, and I'd already done the basics, and he retrieved and all, and he went to her, and she turned around immediately when she got that dog. Retrieving Freedom taught the dog how to do everything that was needed for her, but immediately made a life-changing event for her to get that dog. So what didn't turn out for what I wanted in the retriever games, but for sure as far as his job, he did it great. So anyway, but 6-year-old right now that I'm still chasing the grand with, that for whatever reason we hadn't been able to get past a couple of blinds on third and fourth series, but still working on that. And then hopefully this 9-week-old, maybe in 2 years we'll be chasing it with her as well.
Oh yeah. So you mentioned your home club is 4 states. Do you serve on any of their officer roles right now?
I do not. I've been on every officer in the club except for treasurer, a couple of times president, vice president, and secretary. Just being the national president is fairly time consuming, and to keep my wife and family from going to get rid of me, I hadn't taken on, but I am the we're having a little upland test in the spring, so I'm co-chair of that. So I'm still involved. Still, we have monthly meetings. We're a very active club, so still got a few people that occasionally will need help, and try to help in that way. But as far as being an officer, no, not right now.
When I think about the different officer roles and the different levels of participation within HRC, you kind of take a step back and you look at the overall organization, and really at its core, it's run by the members. It's run by the club members of HRC, to the point where everyone's got a say. Everyone can go to their local club and say, "Hey, here's a change that I think should be proposed." And every year you guys have that annual meeting out in St. Louis, and those topics get brought up. And so I think it's pretty unique how the whole sport kind of has a say in things through those local club officers and through their clubs.
Absolutely, I think that's probably one of the coolest aspects of our game, is that a democracy. And you can, if there's a rule in our rule book that you don't agree with, or you want to make it, maybe improve it, you can submit a rule change, and it goes through a fairly lengthy process, but it can change, and it does. They do change. We have rule changes, yearly now. We've made some changes in our policies over the last couple of years to where we can actually make rule changes on a yearly basis, but it still has to go through our board of directors. The board of directors, or they're the boss. They're the boss of me, and they control HRC, and that's awesome. That you have a voice, and you can make it heard if you want to. If you feel strongly enough about something, you definitely can make your voice heard, and change a rule, change a policy, and or just get involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and not even through your local club, but there's even open floor time at the national meeting as well, that you can go straight to the whole board and speak.
That's right. That's right. Carry a proxy. You'd have to have your local club's proxy, but that'll give you a voice to stand up in front of the other clubs of HRC, their board of directors.
So let's talk a little bit more about the organization as a whole. For people that might not be super familiar, because honestly, before I was in this role and when I was just running tests, I didn't realize how much went into HRC and what the different levels of the organization are. And so I kind of want to talk a little bit about the field reps and what their roles are, and how someone running an HRC test can find those individuals when they're at a weekend event.
Right. Well, the field reps work hand in hand with you guys, UKC, uh, to keep the standard of our game. The standard is huge. Being able to obtain a started title or a season title, which is the backbone of our game, or if you want to go to the next level, the hunting retriever champion. Um, the field reps make sure that the tests are being run as the rules say they are. They're not the police, but they carry a similar type MO. All the judges have to answer to the field reps. On most cases, almost every day, there is a field rep at the test you're at running. The field rep has okayed that test, and if there's a problem there at the test, the field rep will interject and hopefully help get it settled along with the club's hunt committee. So they're huge. They are like everybody are volunteers. We're all volunteers. So they're volunteers, but they definitely they stay busy. Some of them have upwards of 11 clubs in their region. Some have 6 or 7. Now a lot of clubs are having 2, 3, 4 tests a year. So you think about that, that's a lot of weekends away from your family. The good part about it is they do get to run their dog in the process, but it's still very much so a time-consuming task. The field reps have yearly, they try to have a seminar where the judges have to go to once every 3 years, but the field rep will have one in his region every year, and he'll go through the rule book and advise them on the rules and the policies and how they're supposed to interject those in their tests. What's a good mark and what might not be as good. So they have their fingerprints all over their region, and each region kind of does follow the field rep. Some are way more hands-on than others. Some lead by example, but they're all great people, and not always the most liked, because they'll tell you things sometimes that you don't want to hear as a judge, and me included. My field rep, Larry McMurray, I can't tell you how many times he's asked me why I threw that mark in a test, and I better have a good reason why, or he's going to say, well, that's not what I would have done. I would have done X, Y, Z, and I learned from it as a judge. So, so they not always the most, they're not the most liked person at a test, because sometimes they'll have to tell a handler, no, you're out, and this is why. And a lot of times we as handlers don't understand, or it's just in the heat of the moment thing. But field reps we couldn't do it without them. And each region has one, and we have them scattered all over the United States. And they all come to the national meeting once a year to report back from there what's going on in their region.
Alan, I know we both have new Dogtra Pathfinder 2s. How are you liking yours so far?
I'm liking it. I've even had the opportunity now to use mine where I didn't have service, where I download the map of that area, and it works flawlessly. Love it.
I agree. I really like my Dogtra Pathfinder 2 as well. I've used it quite a bit the past few months. I really like the crystal clear maps. I like that it doesn't lose service very much, and I don't have many bad things to say about it at all. Dogtra Pathfinder 2, the official GPS collar partner of UKC.
You kind of touched on it a little bit about, that field rep having that interaction with the handler and saying, no, sorry, you failed today. I kind of want to touch on something, because it seems like it gets kind of confused sometimes when I go to events, because as we all know, the gallery is going to sit there and they're going to talk. They're going to chit chat. Man, why is he throwing that mark? That makes no sense. And somebody's dog fails on that, and there must be a decoy hidden behind that bush, and this, that, and the other. I kind of want to touch on what the formal process would be for someone who's at an HRC event if they feel like there's something that's unfair, or they disagree with the test, or they disagreed with the judge's call, because it does involve the field rep a little bit as well.
Right.
So what is the proper process? What's the proper policy for addressing that as a handler?
Okay, so as a handler, the first person to go to your marshal. Each test should have a marshal. Normally, they're recognized somewhere in judges, handlers briefing. You can go to the marshal and say, "Hey, I feel like my dog. I feel like something wasn't seen, or whatever the case may be." You can go to them and say, I'd like to talk to someone else about this if I could. They should be able to get someone from the hunt committee. The hunt committee is normally made up of 4 or 5 people from the club. The hunt committee will come over and you can tell them what happened. Maybe just as simple as maybe something happened the judges didn't see, and it does happen. And they can talk to the hunt committee. Hopefully the hunt committee will get it resolved, because sometimes the field rep's not available, and they're not at every test. So that's going to be you go to your marshal, go to your hunt committee. If you have a judgment call or whatever the call may be, whatever it is that you didn't like, that you want to file a protest, whether it be maybe how someone treated you or whatever the case may be, you can file a formal complaint up to 30 minutes after the last ribbon or point slip is handed out. So that's 30 minutes after the last one of any test. Mm-hmm. But you have to there is paperwork that is sent to all hunt secretaries that has to be filled out. And there's it's fairly lengthy, and it's for good reason. And but if you feel for whatever reason you need to do that route, that would be my thinking, to go to your marshal first, and then to your hunt committee, and then the hunt committee can notify the hunt secretary and or the field rep, and get all of them involved, and they all will be involved if something like that happens.
Sure. And I think it's worth underlining again that 30 minutes after the last ribbon goes out. Mm-hmm. I know I've had people reach out to me after an event, on Tuesday, and go, "Man, I've really been thinking about it. I don't think, my judges marked me as a fail." And I'm like, well, one, that's a subject to discuss with your club, not with me. But the rules are very clear that it needs to be on the grounds within 30 minutes of that last ribbon, and otherwise, I'm sorry. There's always an opportunity to maybe talk to the judge so you understand things for the future and don't make the same mistake, or you're on the same page. But it's not something you can kind of mull over for a week or two and then go, yeah, I'm gonna write a complaint.
Yeah, because each judge, depending on their category they're judging, it could have up to 50 dogs and started, and you'd have a land and a water series. So, you could easily, the dog could be forgotten. The judges try to make as many notes on their judging sheets as possible to save for events such as this. But, that's the reason for the time frame. If you wait too much long, even then, sometimes if it happened early in the morning, it still could be 6 or 7, 8 hours later. And, it's just better for that to be taken care of. But the judges do try to make notes. One of the coolest things that, since I've been judging, that HRC has implemented over the years is telling the handler immediately if they're out. So, that way it's right then, and the handler knows, and he doesn't come back and run a second series thinking he's still in contention, and or go to a ribbon ceremony thinking he's in contention to get a ribbon. He knows, and that just helped so much. That alleviated so many times where people were upset at a ribbon ceremony because they thought they were still in contention and they really hadn't been. Mm-hmm. And having said that, also too, if you feel like, maybe you're okay with agreeing that you're out, but maybe you want to see why you were out. Maybe you think, okay, I'm understanding you, I'm out. I get it, but can I find out why exactly you had me out? Well, sure. You come back when they're passing out ribbons after they're done. You'll have a brief period of time to meet with the judges, which is another thing that some organizations don't let you do. And you can actually look at their sheets and they'll show you, and they'll usually be a hunt committee person there as well, and they'll show you, hey, we had a cash refusal, or we had you handling to the area, or whatever it was, and very seldom does that happen now. Very seldom do people come back and ask, because of the fact of telling them right when it happened. It eliminated a lot of that confusion, but you definitely can always, even at the grand level, if you can look at your sheets even if you pass. If you just want to go, hey, I want to know if that blind really as good as I thought, or was I kind of shaky and they just let me get through because I did good work everywhere else, then you go look at your sheets and you go, yeah, I had a couple of cash refusals on that blind, or yeah, that mark was a little bit. Yeah, I did a pretty big hunt on that mark, so that you can see your sheets, and it'll make you a better handler and can make you a better trainer for it.
Yeah. And, on that same topic of being a better handler and a better trainer, something that I've found that helped me exponentially is the Judges Handler Seminar. And I like how it's called the Judges and Handler Seminar, because while it is a requirement to become a judge, it's open to handlers to come in and watch and listen as well. And the amount of knowledge I gained from sitting in. Now, my end goal was to go on to be a judge. I'm still sitting here as an apprentice judge. I need to do my apprenticeships, but haven't gotten any assignments. So here's a plug to myself if any of our HRC clubs are listening. And I'm a licensed judge. I just need to do my assignments for apprenticeship.
You're ready. I'll be coming now.
Oh, I'm sure. But it helped me understand how the tests are set up and get into the judge's head a little bit to understand how I can end up with the ribbon at the end of the day. And I feel like a lot of people kind of get caught up. Sometimes they treat a test like it's a training session, and they blow the same whistle and give the same cast they would in training, and that's not always how you pick up the ribbon. And so by going to those seminars and understanding the stark contrast between a handle to the area and a handle in the area, that one word difference could be the difference between passing or failing. Absolutely. And so there's so many nuances that it helps. So this is a message to those who might be listening from HRC. Find your nearest Judges Handler seminar and go hang out and learn.
Yeah, absolutely, man. That's a great point. And again, that's each field rep. Some field reps have 2 a year, but each field rep tries to have 1 in their region, and they usually move it around from year to year. But it's free. They just ask you to let them know ahead of time to, just so they can have enough. We have books that we have for the judges seminar book is kind of helps you guide you on your decision making as a judge, but don't have to be a judge. A lot of times people will show up to a judges handler seminar and 2-3 years later become a judge. And it's good to know what the judges are looking for out of your dog. And that way you're kind of ahead of the game. You're like, okay, well, I know what they need in this mark, or I know, like you just said, handling to the area, the lingo. You'll learn the lingo, because if you don't go to one of those and you hear somebody say, yeah, I got you handling to the area on that one, handler. Okay, well, that might not be something you talk about in your training groups, could or couldn't, might not be. So you'll hear it there and you'll know, okay, that means that, yeah, that's a markdown, handle in the area. Okay, we got you good to go. You have another chance there. But yeah, those are posted on our website. You can go online to each, find your club, find your region. They get posted pretty early so that people can plan for them. We do have a Zoom seminar, and we usually have one of those a year. A lot of different issues that started during COVID, and the people out west, a lot of those folks out there have to drive 8-10 hours to get to a seminar, and just sometimes that's just not really possible. And so this Zoom is limited on the amount of people that can be in it, but we do a Zoom. So if you're somewhere where you can't get to one, we'll have a Zoom probably in the next couple of months, and hop on that thing and and you'll get the same information. You just won't be sitting in a classroom type setting.
Mm. Yeah, I definitely would recommend the in person if you're able.
Yeah.
But still good information. I was just kind of looking next to me because I know in this drawer right here might be stuck somewhere, but I had one of those Judge's Handler books. I
Yeah.
was going to hold it up, but
Yeah.
might have to thumb
Yeah.
through it a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I love that book too. I read through that book quite often, just to stay fresh on things. And
Right.
something I've noticed, because I've been to quite a few grands now as a spectator with UKC, is people who understand that, or they've been to those handler judge seminars, you see them pull some of those tricks out. They pull some of that understanding out to get that ribbon, and you see how valuable it is when you've got a grand pass on the line and you're able to, let's say, exploit that, but
Yeah.
read between the lines of the rules and play the game a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. We all want our dog to go out and put the front foot on the bird and bring it straight back, and we want them to do it every time from started to the grand level.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not going to happen. And if you understand going directly to the area of the fall and establishing a hunt, which is started all the way to the grand, that's what we talk about. If you understand that, then you realize that once you get to that area, then you're able to handle without being penalized.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that area is not defined. We don't go out there and put flags around it or put white paint so that you can see it. So you're kind of rolling the dice whether you're actually going to be in the area of the fall. But yes, absolutely, they go over that at every seminar, and those kind of things. What is expected of your dog between the last holding blind and the bucket. Started, we still expect them to come to the line under control, even though they're on a lead. They don't need to be jerking and bouncing and hopping, and we expect them to have started level control. And if in season the same way, they come to the line on lead. They don't need to be on their back legs. I've had dogs that do that, so I know. I talk from experience. Pulling you to the line because they're so ready to go, which we love to see that part. But you still are being judged, even on both of those categories, getting to the bucket, even though you're on lead.
Sure. Yeah, the amount of information that's out there can be kind of staggering to those new people, but I mean, you pick it up so quickly. So
good training group. You get you a good training group, man, and get somebody that's been doing it for a while, and they're going to do just like we just did. Well, I had a dog that used to pull me to the line on his back feet, and I got penalized for it one time. You gotta get, they expect this out of it. So you get somebody who's been there and done it. That way you don't pay for your lessons quite as often.
Yeah. You're not making as many donations to the
That's
club
right.
on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, or hearing from the judge, boy, that sure is a pretty dog you got there,
Oh God, that's the worst. Oh man.
Yeah, sure do have a pretty dog there, sir.
Yeah, I've heard. I haven't heard that about my dogs, but that's something that I've heard said before, and it never clicked with me until someone was like, "Yeah, that's you don't want to hear that."
Yeah. But that's cool though. If a judge is doing that, he's putting a thought into the thinking. You know what? This guy's probably a little bit upset. His dog didn't pass, and I'm gonna throw him a bone. At least make him feel better. Try to anyway. So
Yeah.
It's all in good. It's all in good gesture. Trying to help a handler, and nobody wants to fail.
Oh, yeah.
But it happens. We all fail sooner or later.
Alan, you've been feeding Eukanuba dog feed for a while now. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I have, and I've really been able to put my beagles to the test, mainly running snowshoe hare up north where they run the hardest, where I put 15, 20, 25 miles on them easily in a day. And I've found that the premium performance sport has really paid dividends. Mainly, I noticed their stamina.
Yeah, same feed that I've been feeding. I think my dog looks good on it. He's really feeling good, and less kennel cleanup for me, so I highly recommend it as well.
Eukanuba, the official performance dog nutrition partner of UKC.
I always think back to my first HRC test. Started test with my older female, the one in the bigger kennel back there. I was a little bit discouraged because on Saturday afternoon, she messed up on water, and I picked her up, and I was driving home. I'm like, man, because it was in Chirac, so it was about an hour 15 away from me, so I drove. I was like, man, I don't know if I go back tomorrow. This is my first test ever. I just wanted a hunting dog, and some buddies convinced me to sign up for a test, and I said, okay. Well, I ended up coming back on Sunday, did fine on land, came out for water, and I was like shaking while I was walking to the line. I'm like, is she gonna mess this one up too, or am I gonna walk out of here with a ribbon? And she crushed it on water.
Cool.
And ever since my first test, I've always had someone in the gallery hold my phone, take a video so I can see how my dog does and kind of learn from how I do, even hadn't started.
Right.
And as soon as she picked up that last bird and brought it back to me, the gallery started clapping. I was like, okay, that's nice of them. They haven't done that for most people, but I'm over here with a poodle, so maybe it's, something nice they're doing for this off-breed dog.
Yeah.
When I went back to look at the video, I noticed the judge had turned around and had started clapping for everyone. That same judge had seen me walk off the line super discouraged the day before, and poodle or lab or boykin or whatever, he went out of his way to make sure I felt welcomed in the sport, and that memory kind of sticks with me, and that's kind of what the sport's all about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. We're just, as judges, we're just judging to the standard. We're not judging against the handler, although the handler does have to do his part. But it's just the standard. Whatever is in the rule book, like we talked about earlier, whatever is in the policies, that's what the judges judge to. So I generally say I'd try to at every handler's briefing before test starts that I want every dog to pass. I really do. Haven't had that happen yet, but I really do want every dog to pass, and that'd be my best day in the field judging if I could pass every dog. And that judge, that's awesome because it meant a lot to you to get that extra little clapping. It meant something. You're still talking about it. So good for him. Good for that judge.
Yeah. So that was kind of my first hunt test experience. What was your first hunt test like for you?
Oh, nerves. I was nervous. Started, never seen a test. Now we had set up some test scenarios while we were training, and and we were running. My dog was running the next level. She was on the HR level when I started, so there wasn't any reason why she wouldn't have passed started. So go into the whatever level you're running underwhelmed if you can. And so that's kind of what we were, but that didn't help me because even though she could do it, I wasn't sure I could do it. And it's there's that 60-yard landmark. You think it's a gimme. You go out there and you see all the little divots and anthills or grass or wind or sun or whatever, and you're thinking, oh man, she's gonna go up there and hunt the whole field, and we're gonna not go home with a ribbon. But went to that test, was super. I think I probably aired her at least 4 or 5 times before I run her. And then ran her. And I never forget this. Was in a big field. Down here we have cattle, a lot of cattle ranches. So we were on a cattle ranch and big field, big field, probably 300 or 400 acres. And so there really wasn't any boundary, any background, to run off of. We were just in a corner of one of them hay fields, and there was a dog ahead of me that it probably ran across almost 300 acres of field looking for the first bird. I mean, it took the whole field. Had there not been a wood line around, I don't know if it would ever quit running. Finally come back and found the bird, brought it back probably 5 to 10 minutes on the bird, and the judges didn't put the dog out, let it go to pick up the second bird. And that was before we had the deal to tell the handler you're out, so maybe they had him out and they just didn't tell him. He sent the dog on the second bird and started, and same thing.
Mm.
and he's blowing whistles, and I'm probably 20 yards behind him in the last holding blind. Here, heel, come here, Fido, yelling, doing whatever he can to get the poor dog to come back, to get the bird. And, and my dog's just amping up and just getting more excited, hearing those whistles, hearing all the, she's twisting and squirming. And okay, so so I'm like, all right, we're gonna get up there and do the same thing. But she did well. Her training came through, and she did fine. But I will not forget that poor guy that was running his dog, and he didn't pass. He just had a bad day, and I think there was only like at that test that was my home club test, and we don't have a great number of started dogs. I think we had like 10 started dogs, so it wasn't like took us a long time to run it, and we started on land.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I won't forget that any time in my HRC games. I'll always remember it. Even today, running the Grand, I still get nervous. If you don't get nervous, why are you doing it?
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the fun is to go. You know what? One friend of mine just passed away recently, and he was in his late 70s, a Vietnam veteran. He had seen it all. He was a gunner on a helicopter. And his favorite thing to say whenever I'd get mad, and he and I training together, and I'd get mad and wonder, why, we've got this taken care of. We've been able to do it. He go, Glenn, you know why that dog did that? Of course, I knew after about the 30th time, but I said, no, Steve, why? And he said, because they're dogs. And that's right, because you just don't know. You just
Mm-hmm.
don't know. The best of the best have their days, and they're just dogs, and they want to do all they can. They love us. They're going to give us everything they got, but some days it's just not in the cards for them.
Yeah, I used to train for Stacy West way back when. They used to say, even on their best day, they're still dogs.
Right, right. And Stacy was a really good one. So yeah, that's not what you want to hear when you're up at the line and somebody tells you, "Hey, man, they're just dogs." Now, oh yeah, it's not my dog though.
Mm-hmm.
My dog is better than that.
Oh yeah,
And how many times do you hear this? This
my dog never does that.
he doesn't do this at home. And when we're training, he never does this. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I wish I had $1 for every time I heard that judging seat. That would be me and you could go out on a good steak dinner on that. I promise you. So, but that's all right. And that's part of the fun about a lot of times the fun of being a judge, and judges, by the way, aren't paid. They're volunteering as well. So they're there taking time away from their dogs and their family just to judge somebody else's dog. But a lot of times the cool part is going up there and seeing that first time guy like myself or you, and seeing them nervous, and seeing grown men, big, strong grown men or women, coming to the line and acting like kids because their dog went and picked up a couple of birds. I mean, that's the cool part about sitting behind them and then kind of smiling when they, all right, you can breathe now.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and breathe, handler. You're in good shape. But anyway, fun game, lots of fun.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. There's nothing scarier either than standing at the line and hearing a chair creak. That sound of someone leaning forward in a chair, I think it could wake
Right,
the dead.
right, right. That reminds me, I was in Judge the Grand in South Carolina at Terrell, not too from where you just talked about earlier. And I had a Canadian as my co-judge, and while we were setting up, he was really dry, but he had some cool jokes. And one of them was he said, talking to our committee member that was there with us, said, "Hey," he said, do y'all need anything? Because we're going to sit down for 5 days and start judging dog daylight to dark. And I said, "No, I'm good. I don't need anything." And my co-judge said, "Yeah, can you get me an electric pencil sharpener?" And it took me about 5 seconds to figure out what he was saying. I thought, oh my gosh, can you imagine running your dog and hearing in the background, sharpening the pencil? I said, man, you are not nice. He goes, yeah, would that be fun though? I was like, yeah, it'd probably get some looks back here at us for sure. But anyway,
Oh
pretty
yeah,
fun.
that's good. That's good. Well, Glenn, I appreciate you hopping on here. I know you've been in the president's position now for right at 6 months now, right?
Yeah, June. Yeah, we're getting close.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, a newer president, and I think it's good for everyone out there to kind of get to know you a little bit as well, get to see you, kind of hear your experience in HRC as well, because it is such a grassroots organization. and the availability of all the different members and the executive committee and the field reps. I think that's one of the greatest parts about HRC. And so I wanted to give them an opportunity to learn a little bit about you, hear a little bit more about the organization, and just have a chit chat.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Yeah, all of us, almost 9,000 members, growing new clubs all the time, growing out west. We're growing big out that way. It's if you watching this and you don't know what region you're in or where your nearest home club is, go to our website, hrc.dog, and you can find where the nearest clubs are, and or contact information. Call me. I'm on there. If I don't know an answer, I can find it out, hopefully. But we're always looking for new people. So we're a family organization from A to Z. So you can bring your 5-year-old son out there, your 75-year-old grandmother, your wife. We everything is structured around family. So we've gotten away from our Saturday night banquets that we used to do a lot of, tailgates, to where everybody got together and ate and fellowshipped. And we got away from that a little bit in COVID, but we still are definitely a family organization. And man, we need more new younger members. If you're in your 20s, 30s, 40s, come out and see what we have to offer. Bring your kids.
Mm-hmm.
That great place. Get them outside. Let them come up. One thing, Dominic, you and I have talked about it before we go. Here real soon, next 6 months, we're going to launch our youth handler program, and have a lot more. And hopefully, you'll get a chance to talk about that maybe in a future podcast. But going to have a lot more information on that, where we'll have an avenue for kids to sign up for free to run a dog and possibly earn scholarships or other prizes at the end of the year. And that's something we're in the early stages on, but it's going to happen. And UKC is behind us on this, and we're going to get it done. I'm really hoping that's going to kick it off for some more youth to get involved in our game. So coming soon.
Absolutely. Well, Glenn, thank you for taking the time and joining us for this, and I hope everyone listening enjoyed it and might have learned a little bit something, or at least had a laugh or two.
Yeah, I had fun.
Thank you for listening to the UKC Hunting Ops Podcast. Be sure to give us a follow so you don't miss any of our new episodes or content.